Welcome back to Starfighter Legion. My name is Chun, and you're watching the Starfighter refit video. So since my first video, I've gotten some comments, feedback, and suggestions with regards to this build. So this video will attempt to address some of the comments as well as explore some of the suggestions given. I've had a chance to improve my gear and play around with the build to improve its performance. So in this video I will be playing at MP7 rather than MP4 as in my first video. So the first thing to look at is the skills. The skill set hasn't really changed much. The big difference, or the only big difference, is Energy Armour with the Prismatic Armour rune over the Ice Armour with a Chilling Aura rune. The reason why I'm making this change is because I managed to get a hold of a Stone of Jordan with that gives cold damage. So I no longer need the Chilling Aura rune from Ice Armour to proc Cold-Blooded. If you remember from the first video, Cold-Blooded was chosen over Glass Cannon because Glass Cannon reduced your survivability. This build is about survivability. You can get away with having really low on-screen damage and still be able to kill mobs in a reasonable amount of time at the higher MP levels. Shocking Pulse of Living Lightning is still here to proc or to generate Arcane Dynamo charges. Once you get 5 charges, use Arcane Torrent with Death Blossom. Diamond Skin is still with Crystal Shell Rune to improve survivability. Magic Weapon with Force Weapon is to improve damage, and Blur is still the passive used. It's again to assist with survivability. And with the Familiar, I'm using the Arcanot rune over the Sparkflint rune. The reason why I'm doing this is because you have to take a look at what items can give you reduced arcane power to Arcane Torrent. There's only 4 slots that'll give you that. Your helmet, your necklace, and your 2 rings. And if you've taken a look at the auction house and you've seen the items that give you that, they're not the best in slot. So ideally you want to have the lowest number of items that give you reduced arcane power to Arcane Torrent while still maintaining infinite Arcane Torrent. This is because you want to be able to use the best in-slot items that you can for your gear setup. So in my case, I have 2 items that give me reduced arcane power to Arcane Torrent. The total I have is 9. So with the Arcanot and my attack speed, which is 1.51 I believe, I have roughly infinite Arcane Torrent, as you can see here. One last thing to note is I'm not using critical mass in this build. I'm avoiding it to demonstrate that this build does work at the higher monster power levels. I have gotten a suggestion that you really should use critical mass because the coefficient with Death Blossom is really high, so it doesn't make sense not to make use of it. I fully agree with that. This critical mass does fit very well into this build, but I'm just not using it to demonstrate that this build does work at the higher MP levels. When we take a look at my gear setup, I'm using 2 items, Mira's Kaleidoscope and Stone of Jordan. This is where my reduced arcane power to Arcane Torrent comes from. The second ring I'm using is the Hellfire ring. This is to get the bonus experience. You don't really need to use Hellfire ring for this slot. You can use whatever you like. There's much better stuff out there, but I'm just using it because I'm not at a Paragon level 100 yet. And for the helmet, instead of Stormcrow, I'm using Mempel's Twilight. It offers much better survivability than Stormcrow can ever give. Another big difference is Storm Shield. The reason why I'm using Storm Shield over a Source is because Storm Shield gives reduced damage from melee attacks and elites, and in addition you can block some attacks coming in. This is much better survivability than any Source can offer, and if you remember, this build is about survivability, and it's not about, well, it is about damage, but damage isn't that important, at least not at MP7. Another thing to note is my stats, which is fully buffed. My all resist is 1016, and my health pool is 113,000. This is quite a bit higher than what I had in my first video. In addition, another big difference is my on-screen damage now is only 41,000. I believe in my first video the damage I had there was about 78,000, and my critical chance is only 12.5. This illustrates the oddity of this build, or the uniqueness of this build, because at the higher MP levels, especially MP7, normal mainstream wizard builds such as critical mass or Archon builds, they won't let you, like, you can't expect to use that kind of, have this kind of on-screen damage and expect to kill mobs in a reasonable amount of time. But the reason why this works for this build is because the damage offered by Arcane Torrent plus Arcane Dynamo plus Cold-Blooded is so high that you can get away with such a low on-screen damage total amount and still kill mobs in a reasonable amount of time. This is something that is unique to this build only until MP7. Once you get to MP8 and above, damage does start becoming a factor because you just can't kill mobs fast enough and you can't leech enough. One of the things that this build relies on is your ability to leech off mobs coming in, or mobs that are surrounding you. Because to a certain extent, damage reduction only assists with survival to a certain degree. The other piece of it comes from how much you're able to replenish your health as you're losing it. So because in 1.8 they've increased the monster densities in patch 1.0, they've increased the monster densities for Act 1 and Act 2 depending on where you are. You not only have to worry about the quality of hits that you're taking, you also have to worry about the quantity of hits that you're taking. So if your health pool isn't high enough, or if you're not leeching quick enough, there is a danger that you will die, because you've probably gotten yourself surrounded, or you're fighting an elite that just happens to knock you in the wrong direction, and you fall into a group that just completely surrounds you. Because you got to remember, while you are geared for survival, you're not invulnerable. So if you are surrounded with enough mobs, you could potentially die. So with that being said, let's take this build into the Act 3. This is MP7, and we'll see how it performs. At the end of this video, I will show you how this build performs in MP10. This build, or with the gear that I currently have, it does allow me to kill MP10 mobs in a reasonable amount of time, but it doesn't allow me to kill MP10 elites in a reasonable amount of time. This has to do with the fact that I don't have good enough gear to allow me to play at MP10. And it also illustrates that at the higher MP levels, damage does become a factor, but at MP7 you can still get away with the lower damage. So I'll be playing at this is the Errant Crater level 1. Okay, so that was a run of a elite that had reflect damage, nightmare, and molten, which was kind of annoying because nightmare just kept making me run all over the place, and reflect damage was one of the more nastier mods that you can get. So this build does work at MP7, and it did take me a little long time to kill the mobs, but that's more of just because there was reflect damage and nightmare, which is a particularly a bad combo. But with elites with more with less terrible combos, it won't take that much time. So the next thing we're going to look at is some of the suggestions. One of the suggestions I had was using Azarath rather than a weapon that deals damage with Life Leech. Because Azarath cannot roll Life Leech, blood magic will have to be on your magic weapon. So this does work in with this build, but your damage is a little bit low, and I believe you can get away with having lower damage at this stage. So as you see me using it now, you'll notice that I am getting some freezes off, which is nice. This is one of the neat things about this, but one thing you gotta note is you're not leeching as much. Like the highest amount that I see here that I'm leeching is around 500-600, which isn't a lot. So that was with Azarath. Building on this suggestion, I came up with the idea of using Wind Force instead of a shield and a weapon. This does work too, but I think there might be a cap to this. I'm not sure, because one thing I've noticed is as I keep knocking something back, eventually it just stopped knocking back for some odd reason. I'm not sure why it did that, but it's just something that's, I guess, strange about knockback. There might be like a limit somewhere. I hope there isn't, but this is pretty interesting, as you'll note here. Or you probably can't see it in the corridor, so I'll bring them more to this open area. And you'll see that mobs are being thrown back very often. So Wind Force is a viable alternative to a weapon and a shield. But again, you'll note that my life is probably decreasing a lot faster than when I had a sword and a shield. This illustrates the survivability that Storm Shield offers over not having it. But it is an interesting combo that you can use. Using Wind Force and using Azarath. And as promised, I'm now going to demonstrate this on MP10, and to show that you can play this at MP10 if you have sufficient gear. So this is me at MP10. So as you can clearly see, in MP10, I am killing those mobs in a relatively reasonable amount of time. Mind you, it's not as quick as what a critical mass or an Archon build can do, but you gotta remember, I'm only using 41,000 DPS on screen in MP10, which sounds kind of silly, but it does work, strictly because of how much damage, again, Arcane Torrent with Arcane Dynamo and Cold-Blooded. So, because I don't have the best gear available, if I'm able to do this in MP10 on trash mobs, presumably someone with better gear can get, say, 100,000 DPS on screen, and they'll probably be able to do this, like play at MP10 and farm MP10 with this build. So this is strictly to show that this build is viable all the way up to until the end of the game. You got to remember that this is the end of the game at MP10, so DPS does play a factor with regards to the higher MP levels, MP 8, 9, and 10 and up, because the elites, they deal a lot of damage. Even with 1,000 all resist and above, the elites, especially the ones with the bad mods or a bad combo of mods, they can do a lot of damage in a very short period of time. So you need the higher damage to get higher leech totals. But this is only if you want to play at MP 8, 9, or 10. If you're at MP 7, you can get away with just having what I have, which is 41,000, and still be able to play it relatively safely. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I will be making more videos with the variants of this build. Another thing to note is this gear setup, going for massive tanking, it also works with other skills. So I'll be making more videos with different attack skills. So rather than just having Arcane Torrent, I'll be using different skills that haven't been used much. So there's a Infinite Disintegrate build that some people have been trying to see if it works. It does work with this gear setup, so I'll be doing a video on that, and later on I'll also do a video with Critical Mass, because all these videos that I have been making with this build hasn't been using Critical Mass, and at MP10 I didn't use Critical Mass either, so I haven't fully explored the options with the Critical Mass, but I will be, because I have gotten some suggestions that you really should be using Critical Mass. So I'll also be doing that in my future videos. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and have fun with this build. Please leave any comments or feedback or suggestions on the forums as before, and I will explore them to see the potentials in them, such as like the Azarath suggestion. I was able to build on that and use Wind Force. One other thing that I nearly forgot to mention is I also tried using Echoing Fury with this build, because Echoing Fury provides a chance to fear on hit. It didn't work out as well as I thought it would, because the mobs kept running all over the place, and a lot of times they would run out of range of my Arcane Torrent, or sorry, my Death Blossom. So while the Azarath idea was very good, it worked with Azarath and it worked with Wind Force, it doesn't always work with all sorts of like chance to like CC a mob. Things like that make them run around, like Fear, those aren't really good choices. It's actually more of a hindrance than a benefit. But with that being said, if you have like some suggestions or ideas, please leave them on the forums or leave them on the on this video comment section, and let's all have fun with this.